one of the very important symptoms of advancement in devotional service. So before this verse we saw, how does one understand that someone has advanced in devotional service? Is that when he is qualified with all the transcendental gunas, attributes of a devotee, then his mind is immediately attracted simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord or anything in connection with the Supreme Lord. So, in that stage, when one's consciousness has become saturated with Krishna consciousness, now our consciousness is saturated with material concepts, material subject matter. So you can imagine how important it is to avoid taking any kind of material inputs as much as possible. One should try to avoid all material inputs because already our consciousness is very dirty. It is saturated with Maya. The more we subject our senses to material subject matter, even without our knowledge, in a very subtle form, Maya will enter our consciousness through the different senses. So, it is very essential for devotees to avoid as far as possible material subject matters. Seeing them, hearing them, coming in touch with them somehow or other. And on the other hand, Srila Rupa Goswami has given a very important principle. How, by following the different processes of devotional service as given by the Acharya, one will be able to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Just like in today's conversation also we are reading, Prabhupada is asking, is it very difficult? Krishna is saying, Man mana bhava mad bhakto mad vyaji mam namaskuru. And Prabhupada is asking, is it very difficult to remember Krishna? So all our different programs given by Srila Prabhupada is meant for this most important principle, that somehow or other we can keep Krishna in our consciousness. Then what will happen? Slowly our consciousness will become saturated with Krishna. Now at this point, our consciousness is saturated with material subject matters. And in all of them, hearing is most important. Hearing is most important. So that is why, because in the beginning, our eyes are not capable these senses, it is not possible to actually understand the Supreme Lord who is beyond the senses. But the method is given that if we chant and hear, Sevon mukhehi jivhadau swayam eva hi spuratyadaha. The service of the Lord begins by chanting. And chanting means we have to hear. So the more we hear spiritual subject matter, the more our consciousness will become purified of all kinds of anarthas, which is saturating our pure Krishna consciousness, making it dirty. Then the result will be, the moment our consciousness is saturated. So earlier to this, Lord Kapila had said that Shravana Matrena, just by hearing the holy name, if our mind is attached, if our mind becomes captivated, then one should know that actually he is advancing in devotional service. So like this, if our mind is saturated with Krishna consciousness, the result will be, we will be able to perceive directly the presence of the Lord in our heart and in everyone's heart. So, in the verses beginning from here, Lord Kapila will describe how a low-grade devotee may worship the deity in the temple. Unfortunately, because his consciousness is not saturated with Krishna consciousness, he cannot perceive Supersoul, neither in his heart nor in every living entity's heart. Because if someone is saying that I am perceiving, I can also say, everybody can say, Paramatma is present in everyone's heart. Isn't it? Philosophically, we all know the Supreme Lord is present in everyone's heart. But then to realize the presence of Paramatma in everyone's heart, Lord Kapila will explain, it will manifest in our behavior. One will be kind to the living entities. One will not be envious of others. You see, I am seeing Paramatma in your heart and still I am envious of you. That means it is not compatible. If I am able to perceive Paramatma in everyone's heart, my perception, my vision will change. Isn't it? That is important. So, very beautiful example is given here. This should inspire us to further advance in our Krishna consciousness. Because sometimes, as Rupa Goswami has said, that there are certain things which are very important for our advancement in devotional service. If you practice certain things and if you avoid certain things, then we can very fast advance in Krishna consciousness. So just like he says, there are 6 things which one should avoid, and there are 6 things which one should perform if one wants to advance in devotional service. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha lolyamscha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. If one is too much calculative about either eating too much, atyahara, or collecting material objects, that is called atyahara. More than what is required, more than necessity. So then it spoils our advancement in devotional service. That is where Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, yuktahara. It should not be atyahara. Yuktahara means as much it is required to keep the body and the soul together. Atyahara means more than necessary. Ati means more. So when one collects more than necessary, or when one eats more than necessary, actually it impedes our devotional service. We can see that. When we are eating more than necessary, because tongue is considered to be very uncontrolled. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, if one can control the tongue, then all other senses actually can become controlled. So it is very important. Eat prasadam, and in prasadam, don't be so much after collecting and eating more than what is required. Because it is called prasada seva. Honoring the prasadam. It is not enjoying the prasadam. So we have to be very careful. It is also a devotional service. Honoring prasadam with great respect. Krishna bada dayamoy, being very merciful because my tongue is uncontrolled. The Lord has given me this prasadam, so that slowly all my senses will come under control, just by partaking, honoring prasadam. So this is one very important principle. And if we neglect, then we should understand Shadbhir Bhaktir Vinashyati. My devotional service, my advancement in devotional service, it will create an obstacle in that. So for grahasthas, important that they don't collect material objects more than necessary. I want something, So many material objects people are behind. It's just recently when I had gone to Delhi, so I observed that someone was there, and there were 2 apartments somebody had purchased. So earlier, when the other apartment was not fully completed nicely, so somebody purchased another apartment, but the moment he saw that another apartment is constructed so nicely, so huge, so beautiful, then immediately he said, no, I will sell this apartment, I want like this. How much people are behind material objects. So this aspiration to collect more and more for our material comforts of life is also atyahara. We have to give up. Otherwise, we will not be able to advance in Krishna consciousness. So atyahara, prajalpa, and then, as we said, Prabhupada explains, tongue is very uncontrolled. It wants to eat so many different varieties of material bhoga and also discuss and talk on so many material subjects. So devotees should avoid talking prajalpa. Association of devotees is not just living together. Bodhayante parasparam. That is the meaning of association of devotee. One discusses, just like in the material society, wherever people sit down, they just discuss material subject matters. So, I was chanting when I had gone to my parents' house. I had gone for some service to Vrindavan, so I stayed for one night in my parents' house. So there in the park when I was chanting, so definitely people are very, very pious, and when they saw me with tilak and kantimala and chanting, they immediately said Hare Krishna and called me. So I was talking there for some time and they were inclined to hear. But then one more person came and immediately they were diverted from whatever little spiritual subject matter we were discussing, and that person started some political topics. So I could see how much people are inclined to talk on political subject matters. Hours together they can sit and gossip. This is called prajalpa. So devotees should see whether I am inclined to discuss subject matter, material subject matter, or I am inclined to discuss spiritual subject matter. That is very essential. So Prabhupada has given this association of Krishna consciousness so that we can discuss spiritual subject matter. Otherwise, what is the meaning of association? Simply living physically together? Is that called association? Isn't it? That is not association. Real meaning of association is to share Krishna consciousness with each other, whatever we have understood, whatever we have realized. That is the meaning. So, one should avoid prajalpa, atyahara prajalpa, prayasa, and to endeavor for material objects, for certain material things which are difficult to obtain. That is also called prayasa. Let us say in devotional life we are chanting specifically for, let us say for example, even for brahmacharis or for grahasthas. It is very important. Suppose we become too much enamored with different kinds of material positions which may accompany in our devotional service. So, and then in order to obtain that, we work hard in that direction. Just like in the material world, people are behind positions. Somebody is junior engineer, then he is thinking why I should remain junior, I should become senior manager. And then he becomes a senior manager, then he wants to become director, then he wants to become managing director. Isn't it? So, likewise, people work so hard in material life to obtain certain things. Sometimes their whole life is filled with so much of material endeavor to obtain certain position or certain things in their life. What happens is, our essential time, energy, our prana goes away in that. And then no prana left for chanting, no prana left for hearing, no prana left for advancement in devotional service. Because the time and energy, vital energy, which is very essential, is all gone in material endeavor. So that is why it is advised for devotees, they should not endeavor too much in material direction, for material. For Krishna's sake, yes, we should endeavor more than a karmi. But for some material position, some material acquisition, devotee should not endeavor. That is called prayasa. Then niyamagraha, following something without spirit, without understanding the spirit. It's like chanting, without understanding that I should chant with awe and reverence. I should chant with attention. Isn't it? Simply chanting, that is also called niyamagraha. I have to somehow or other complete my 16 rounds. I am doing that. That is niyamagraha. Or somebody is thinking, now I am already so many years in Krishna consciousness, now I don't require to follow rules and regulations. Does not matter, some days I chant 6 rounds, some days I chant 10 rounds. Anyway, I am staying with the devotees, I am doing some services. This is also called niyamagraha. Either thinking I am above any kind of niyamas, any kinds of rules and regulations, or following it to the extent not understanding the spirit behind those rules and regulations. That is also niyamagraha. So, both way we have to be cautious. Then, janasangascha lolyamscha. If we mix with materially minded people, again that will pollute our consciousness. We should mix with them to the extent it is required to deal with them spiritually or even socially. So sometimes in the society also we may require, to mix with people who are materialistic. So we should mix with them as much it is required for our service, or as much it is required to give them Krishna consciousness. And lolyamscha, one should not be greedy after material things. So all these things will spoil our advancement in devotional service. Similarly, Rupa Goswami says there are certain things which are very important. Utsaha, enthusiasm. So devotees should participate in all the programs which Prabhupada has given with enthusiasm. It should be with utsaha, not dull, somehow or other attending, coming, somehow or other chanting, isn't it? It is very essential to have that spirit of enthusiasm. Without enthusiasm, even in material field, nobody has obtained anything substantial. People are very enthusiastic in material field, that is why we find they have climbed. Of course, Krishna helps those who help themselves. Following that principle, Krishna helps them to obtain whatever is required to prosper in their material business, in their material establishment. So similarly, devotees should be very, very enthusiastic while performing devotional service. Enthusiastically we should participate in the kirtan. Enthusiastically we should chant. Enthusiastically we should hear. All the different parts of our devotional service should be practiced with enthusiasm. Nishchaya, And one should be very determined, confident. Avashya Rakshive Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me. And once or twice failure should not be a devotee. That is called Nishchaya. Just like we were hearing earlier about, Prabhupada says, if you want to learn about determination, that we should learn from Dhruva Maharaj. What a determination he had, that within 6 months he was able to see the Lord face to face. So with that kind of determination, one should practice. And then patience, dhairya. One should have lot of patience in Krishna consciousness. So, because we are in the realm of kingdom of Maya, there will be fall downs. But one should have patience that yes, if I am practicing Krishna consciousness gradually, things will be all right, anarthas will be gone, and I will be able to make advancement in devotional service. Tat tat karma pravartanat. And with patience, we have to carry out with our duties in Krishna consciousness, not neglectful. Whatever different duties we have got, tat tat karma pravartana. Sanga tyago sato vritti. And again, it says, just like even there it said, jana sanga, that will spoil, and sanga tyago will increase our devotional service. The more we are inclined to give up material association and take sato vritti and take the association of devotees, that is very, very conducive for devotional service. So, this will slowly saturate our mind with Krishna consciousness. If we follow these principles as given by these great Goswamis, they have studied Nana Shastra Vicharaneka Nipunam Sadharma Samsthapakam. They have taken out the essence from all the Vedic literature and presented to us what we should practice so that we can always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. So, when our mind will become saturated, as the example is given here, that when there is a saturation of aroma in a garden, right? Let us say, it is so much saturated with nice aroma, rose flower or jasmine flower. What does it do? Immediately it will capture our sense of smell. Isn't it? Similarly, when our consciousness becomes saturated with Krishna, immediately it will capture the existence of the Supreme Lord. Immediately it will capture the existence of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna consciousness is not something which is not realistic. Here the example is given, when your consciousness will be saturated, you will be able to perceive the presence of the Lord in your heart. You will be able to perceive the presence of the Lord in everyone's heart. So we should analyze, am I able to perceive? We are not able to perceive. Philosophically I am convinced, yes, Paramatma is there in my heart, Paramatma is there in his heart. So when I hurt somebody, let us say when I am hurting somebody, am I able to see that Paramatma is not happy? So then what am I seeing? Paramatma in everyone's heart. Correct? So that means only philosophically I know Paramatma is in everyone's heart. When perception will be there, you will be able to understand. Isn't it? You will be able to perceive Paramatma. So that is how Lord Kapila will explain that how a person will be able to perceive Paramatma. So he is able to capture Paramatma, and then what are the symptoms that he has captured Paramatma in his heart? That he is able to see Paramatma everywhere. So that will be described in the further verses. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada.